Hey everybody, welcome to Magic Mind. You are here, my friends, because you know that magic is an art form that can move and entertain people like no other. But you also know that developing this skill requires diligent practice and a detailed understanding of the craft. So, my goal with this show and company is to provide you with a community, to offer you support and show you advice from top magicians such as Wes Barker. Wes, how are you today?
Living the dream, man. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Man, thanks for being on. All right, so if anybody out there is thinking, Wes Barker. Wes Barker, that name sounds familiar. Let me just help you out. The name sounds familiar because it is. You have seen him all over the internet. You've seen him on television. He has a YouTube channel with over 100,000 subscribers and is getting to nearly 50 million views, which is just insane. You've seen him on television, on Wizard Wars, America's Got Talent, tons of news shows. Penn and Teller Fool Us, which is such a big deal, and he actually fooled them, which is awesome. He even has his own magic special, which is getting great reviews and is free to watch if you have an Amazon Prime membership. So uh, you can also just see clips from it on his YouTube channel because they're all there for free. So here's what I have to say about it. When you watch him perform, you're not watching a magic show. You're watching a Wes Barker show, which is a very, very good thing. It's full of life, personality, and everything is unique. In Wes's own words, it's not Dove, Dove, Fireball. It's something totally different. And you can tell right away, whoops, you can tell right away that it's very unique because the name of the show is Full Frontal Magic. And it features boomerangs, blow darts, and tons of comedy. So I highly recommend it to anybody who might be interested. The next logical question that should come to mind when you hear all this is, okay, well, where did all of this start? Well, Wes first garnered his interest in magic from his guitar teacher, who would teach him a trick after every lesson. So after 8 years of playing guitar, Wes claims that he can't play a lick. However, he's become a phenomenal magician, which is somewhat ironic. The interest in magic would stay with him for a very long time, though it remained dormant. And Wes, there are two things about your story that fascinate me the most, because they're big steps. The first one is that you dropped out of college, and the second one is that you made a huge career switch. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why my phone is acting up. All right, we're back. So those are interesting to me because I am in college right now, and just the thought of dropping out of college is awful because I know that it would come with so much societal pressure and stuff. What would your friends say? What would your parents say? So I'd love to hear you talk about that, why you decided to make that move, and obviously it worked out for you. Part of this show is about finding people who have success and then following those clues. They say success clues. So based on that, I think the clues from your story that are obvious right away are if you want to make a living as a professional magician, take 8 years of guitar, drop out of college. Right?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
All right, so I'll throw a question at you to kind of get us started here.
All right.
Why did you drop out of college?
Perfect question to start with. Man, it's so funny because when you say you drop out, it kind of like people have a certain image in their mind of what that means and why. But I dropped out after doing 6 years of college. Like,
oh,
yeah, I dropped out. I think I was 24 when I finally. I have technically I have like more credits than you even need for a degree. I was just going to classes and just hanging out and just drinking and just partying and just living the life. And then I kept switching majors. I just didn't find anything I wanted to do. I didn't know why I was having so much trouble finding something I wanted to do. I just know I would be like, do business. No, this isn't it. Kinesiology, this isn't it. Philosophy, this isn't it. I'll take chemistry. I'll take econ. Like nothing worked for me. I was like, this is all bullshit. I was doing fine in the classes. I've always been good with any kind of school. So I was like, I'll find something. I just hated it all. So then I was just like, fuck, I'm done. And I just left. And everyone's like, man, you should be like. I think for my business degree, I think I'm 5 courses away from like a business marketing degree. But I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm done. And I just walked. But I didn't walk out of there to go do magic. Even at that point, I didn't even think I probably could do it full time. At that point, I didn't even. It was just something I was doing on the side, and I just went and started working this job. I used to work during the summers when I was in between my university the years or whatever. And yeah, man, I just went there and like literally worked there for like over a year, just full time. And then I got a real glimpse of reality where you're working there and you're going like, oh man, like this is what the alternative is. Like that's kind of why I stayed in school so long, because I enjoy that lifestyle. Like I thought the school was easy, the people were cool, you could drink at 11 a.m. and no one really bothers you. Like it was just super fun. But yeah, I don't know, man. My life took a real big turn because I went to university on a basketball scholarship, of all things.
Wow.
So that's the only reason.
I did a lot of research on you, and I didn't see anything about a basketball scholarship.
Yeah, well, I rode the bench a lot in university, so I never really talk about it too much. Like I was so good in high school, and then good enough to get like a scholarship and be on the team. But then I played 3 years there, but I just didn't really get much playing time, and I'm just too short. You can get by that in college or in high school. You can't do it in college. But yeah, man. So that's why I don't really talk about it too much. But that was my whole thing. I knew I was going to go to university, but I knew it'd be for that. I didn't have any like idea of what school was in mind. But yeah, man, I swear, like the best thing ever was doing that. I don't know. I feel like it would have been. Honestly, I made that decision when I was super depressed in my life. You know what I mean? Like I was like probably a low point in my life. I was done with school. Yeah, dropping out of college. Yeah. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I started traveling. I liked the idea of that. I didn't know what I wanted to do for my degree. I just didn't have any purpose. That's why I dropped out. So it wasn't so glorious as some people think. Like that was probably a low time in my life, I would say. When I quit my job to go after being a professional magician, that one was like the good version of that. Like that was where I was finally in a good spot and was like, yeah, fuck the system and do what I want to do, right? So both of my big steps were based on two very different emotions, I'd say.
That's really good to hear. Okay. And I told you I'm in college right now, so I'm already thinking about that. If you could go back in time and talk to a younger version of yourself. Okay, two questions. How far back would you go to? What version of yourself would you want to give advice? And then what would you tell that version of yourself?
I think I would, I think I'd go back to right when I quit basketball, which was after my third year. So I was probably 21. And I would say, hey man, this was a good run. Like, let it go. You're gonna find something else for you that is going to change your life in a way that like that dream of like, being a professional athlete that you like. I mean, I pretty much had to let go of that right out of high school, right? But it still lingers in the back of your head. You don't know what to do with yourself. And I struggled with that. And I was like, man, just let that out. And because you are going to find something that is so organically good for you and you're going to love even more than you ever loved playing sports. So just chill out. Because I just stressed out so hard. Like I felt like I lost my identity. Wow. And at that point, I'd only been playing around with magic for like maybe a year and a bit, right? I really got into magic when I was about 19, 20. I got the interest when I was a kid from my guitar teacher. That was right. But I didn't really start doing it again until well into university, when I was like, oh, I better learn some tricks because it'd be sweet to do them at the pub. And like, I just saw some David Blaine special and I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. Like, I got to learn these card tricks again. So I don't know. Like I would just go tell myself at 21, just it's okay, chill out. Sometimes I think I would tell myself to earlier in life get involved in theater, drama, comedy, magic more right out of the gate. But I think I'm happy with the kind of performer I am. I think I am that way because I went so long without doing like magic all the time. I'm glad I came into it late. Like I was already used to being loud and obnoxious and funny, and you know what I mean? Magic wasn't a part of my identity. And I think that's made my career now, it shaped it a little bit for me better, just because I'm not. That's what you said. Like I like what you said about it's like watching a West show. Well, it's because I still have more experience being me than I have being a magician. So that's really informed it a lot. And for me, that was really good. So I don't think I'd go back much earlier than 21. How old are you?
I'm 19.
19. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't even go back to where you are. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Okay.
but I would definitely tell myself to chill out.
It's really interesting.
There's no wrong decisions in life. There's no right and wrong decisions. There's just decisions. You know what I mean? So chill out.
It was honestly weird to hear you just say that you felt like you lost your identity, because when I was watching your show and I've seen your YouTube, you have such a clear identity. You're so unique that to hear that at one point you had lost that is almost unbelievable. Just knowing you now.
I appreciate that, dude. You should have seen my first magic show when I was my first stage show I ever did. I was probably 21 or 22. I guess I would have been 22. I'd been doing close-up gigs. I finally got a stage show, and you should have seen me, man. I literally dressed like Lance Burton, and I talked like Wayne Dobson, and I just bombed hard. I was doing close-up tricks over my head. It was gross. So I've come a long way with my identity than that first one, that's for sure.
Right. Well, that's an interesting place to go to as well. Let's talk about transitioning from close-up to stage. Because all I've ever seen you do, well, that's not true. You do a lot of stage work, on television and stuff. Obviously on YouTube, it's a little more close-up personal.
Sure.
But no one really starts on stage, as far as I can tell. It usually starts close-up with cards and coins or whatever. So how do you make that transition? Because I've only done one stage thing, and it was like 6 months ago, and it was, sub.
Right.
I'd be very interested to hear what you have to say about transitioning between the two.
Well, okay, for me, it happened sort of two different ways. One way is I think how it happens for a lot of people is where you're a really decent close-up magician and you're getting like corporate event gigs and whatever, and then sometimes someone that books these gigs, they don't realize the difference between close-up and stage, and they just know that you're a good magician. So then they just say, hey, can you do like a show for everyone? And you just want gigs and money, and you just say yes, even though you can't. So like that's for me, my first gig was a corporate event of some accounting firm, 450 people. I had to do a 45-minute stage show. I'd never even done stage before. So it was really bad. And I had to charge them like what I thought a stage show was worth. And then they paid it, and I felt like it was the crime of the century. It was so bad. But the other reason I got into it was because at the same time I'm learning close-up magic when I'm like 19, 20, doing all this, learning all of the close-up magic I can get my hands on. At the same time, I'm also going to open mic comedy clubs just to do stand-up. And then I was like, oh man, I could like put those together. Like even a stand-up comedy club, like the rooms I was doing were really small. There'd be like 20 people in them watching, right? Maybe 15. So I could even go up there and just do a close-up card trick because they could all see it. So I would do like a couple jokes and do a quick trick and do a couple jokes. So that for me was kind of like, I guess, parlor, right? It was like kind of a mid-step where I could get it, my stage chops up a little bit more. But I used to be one of those guys that was like, stage is not real magic. The close-up is where the real magic is. And I used to preach that all the time. But now I love stage shows so much now. I love it.
So from that first show at the accounting firm in front of 450 people, the crime of the century, how did you go from that to now?
Oh yeah, man. Well, I took a long time off doing stage after that. Like it just didn't go well. I didn't know what to do. But I realized that that like it's inevitable if I want to do this as a career. And it wasn't until 2011 that I quit my day job. And like, man, I walked out of there in glory style. They're just like, hey, we want to promote you. And I just had my light flash from my eyes. Like, I'm going to be here till I die. I just like, I quit, just walked out of there. It was so good. Got to my car, literally got in my car, shut the door, opened the door again, threw up on the ground, closed the door, drove home. I was like, what have I done in my life? So scary. But at that point, I'm like, okay, you can't ignore this stage show problem that you have. Like, you have to get into it. You know what I mean? So I started doing, I just brought my magic to the open mics I go to for comedy. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing more magic at these. I started calling old age homes. And I would do like these shows for like, 20 old people at an old age home on Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, partly because it paid $50 and I just quit my job. But the other one was like, I'm just going to learn how to do stand-up magic, and those suck. They don't like me. They just like when people talk to them. So you can go there and be as bad as you want. It doesn't matter.
Cool.
I wouldn't really gauge how you're doing. I mean, I guess if they're fogging up the oxygen mask, I guess, you're kind of killing it. That's their version of laughing, I guess. So
That's good.
Brutal, man.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you were merging these two things that you were already doing, and that became the West style. But did you have anyone that you were looking up to or being influenced by?
Yeah. Like I really thought Wayne Dobson was pretty great. I liked his style a lot. It's weird. It doesn't really suit me, but I don't know. I was really addicted to him right off the top. I liked real magic. I realized pretty quickly that it wasn't really for me. Like I loved watching David Blaine specials and stuff. Even though it's so far from how I do it, like I can't be serious for a second.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like I was very good at separating magic. Because at the same time, I'm just falling in love with all of these comedians. Like back then, I was like really loving Dane Cook and stuff. And I would.
Oh yeah. I actually just went through a Dane Cook phase where I watched like every special I could find.
I dig it, man. Like I just like that kind of energy and that enthusiasm. So I knew that they were very separate. So I don't really know anybody that's kind of. I wasn't watching someone and being like, okay, I'm going to do that. Like I'd watch Amazing Jonathan. I really liked his style, but it was a bit, I wouldn't do like anything sort of bloody or whatever on stage, right? So yeah, I was just sort of all over the place with what I liked. I watched a lot of comedy. Once I saw Tim Minchin, he's like a musician comedian. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Once I saw him for the first time in about 2010, I was like, okay, if I could do what he's doing, he's blending piano music and comedy. If I could do magic and comedy like that, then I think that I'd be on something. And so actually, if I had to pick someone, I'd say he inspired me most, which is weird because I'm not playing an instrument. But
that is interesting.
Well, play a song, tell some jokes. Play a song, tell some jokes.
Yeah,
I dig.
Yeah, the guitar, right?
Right.
No, it's funny whenever you tell someone that you're a magician, they go, "Oh, cool. What instrument?"
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Cool. So Tim mentioned big influence. I like that, and I like that you found influences outside of just the world of magic. Because one thing that I fear happens is when a magician is a copy of a magician of another magician of another magician. It becomes this weird thing where everyone is a version of someone, and I don't like it at all.
That's the one thing that that's why I probably hang out with comedians more than magicians, is because they push each other so hard that you like to be unique. And like if you even sort of smell like someone else, if they get a hint of you on stage like some other person, they'll call you on it so fast.
Ooh, that's nice.
And I like that pressure, and I'm like, fuck, like it really makes you try and do your own thing, because there's a lot of magicians, especially if you start really young, it's hard not to just sort of all look the same by the end.
Yeah, and actually, as we're talking, I'm thinking about this, the two similarities between comedy and magic. Magic, you can sell your tricks, and then other people would do them. Could you imagine if in comedy you sold your jokes for other people to do? That's such a
crazy thought,
right?
Yeah. Well, like if you look back in like the 70s, I know some guys at old cruise ship comedians, and in the 70s, the comedians would get together backstage and they'd be like, "Okay, what jokes are you gonna do tonight?" And they'd like, "Okay, you do that one, I'll do this one," and they would just have these communal jokes they would do.
Wow,
cool. Back now and too frowned upon. So
everyone take a joke from the bucket.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool. So I'm really glad I have you on here, because you're someone who's done so much TV magic, and we talked a little bit about going from close up to stage. I'd like to talk about the specifics of TV magic. By the way, if my microphone ever cuts out during this, feel free to say something. It's totally fine. You heard that?
Yeah, it seems good, man.
Good. Okay. It would suck if I was trying to tell you that, but you couldn't hear that because it wasn't working. So, okay, just making sure. So TV magic, you have to think about, I don't know, angles, the whole production that goes behind the scenes. I think a lot of people, including me, are fascinated to know what that's like, and if it changes from program to program, if there's a different production style and all that.
Oh, buddy, I have so much insight on TV magic. It's crazy, because I've literally had to do every aspect of it now. Like the Wizard Wars thing, the Fool Us thing, the America's Got Talent thing, YouTube's its own thing, and then I also was the head magic producer for this YTV show called Tricked, with where that starred Eric Leclerc, and I had to, between me, Eric, and this other guy Travis, we had to come up with 265 magic tricks to do over these 20 episodes, and we weren't allowed to do a single card trick.
Wow.
And,
Why?
and like
Card tricks.
just because that was what the head producer said. He's just like, let's just do a magic show without doing a card trick. And it's all hidden camera stuff, so we want it to be just organic things, right? So it was fucking crazy, man. So like, I mean, I know everyone always thinks of like, yeah, angles and whatnot. Like, it's funny with TV magic. Let's work it like this. Close up magic on TV, like if you're doing like a hidden camera thing or a lot of YouTube stuff, for example, you can get away with a lot because you know where the camera is. You know what I mean? Like, you know that good angle, so it's kind of like hard to fuck that up, right? Where you just like, it's you just put the camera where you want it, so it's kind of a nice situation. And we'll have, like, especially doing hidden camera, we'd have situations where like the trick might not go over as well, but like the person's reaction would still, like, I'm trying to think of it like this. Imagine if you stood someone behind you and you were trying to do some fancy move, but you accidentally flashed to them, right? You didn't do it on purpose, but you just flashed really bad some move you're doing. Their response would be like, and it would look like amazement, but it's not. It's like, what the fuck was that? But when you're shooting on TV, like the director will be like, oh, zoom in on her. That's great. Even though she's like looking at the back of a thumb tip that she's not supposed to see or something, right? So it's like, you kind of get away with, like, you learn quickly just to roll with whatever's happening. You're like, oh man, I just flashed so bad something, and they're like, kind of response. You're like, yeah, crazy, right? And you just move on, and they're like, yeah, that's really weird. Like, I don't know. And because you have to. It's like you only have so many takes. You got 15 people backstage filming, right? Like running all this stuff. You don't have all day to do it. Like, as much as people say, oh, you can do it 1,000 times. You could. A lot of times you're running with like 2 or 3 chances to get something to work, and that's it.
Wow. What programs give you 2 or 3 chances?
Like which programs?
Yeah, like, are you thinking YouTube or
I'm talking about YouTube or making a TV show, like when we made Trick for YTV. Like,
okay.
we just had that much time. So yeah, like when you up it to like something like, let's call it Fool Us, right? Yeah, they're only going to give you 1 shot, and I mean that one. I tell people all the time, man. I'm like, I don't care if you want to fool them or not. You go out there with the thing that you are most comfortable doing, because that stage is not. You are way better off not fooling them with something that you can do in your sleep, as opposed to maybe fooling them with something that you're gonna have to like really concentrate on, because that is a gamble you do not want to make, man. Like, I can't feel like, oh no, but I'm gonna come up with this new routine. I'm like, don't do it. Like, the trick I did on there, I had been doing for like, I don't even remember. Like, I'd definitely been doing it for over 2 years, like at every show. I'd probably performed it on a stage in front of like our actual audience 150 times.
Wow.
And like, so when I went out there, I'm like, this is not a big deal. I'll take my time. I'll chill. And like, another thing I'll say to any one of these shows, agree with the producers and whatever they need you to do. Like, oh, you got to make this time limit. You got to use this. You got to use that. Agree. And then on the day, do whatever the hell you want. Right? They're like, you have to be 7.5 minutes. I'm like, cool. So my Fool Us thing, I think I did 10.5. Right?
Okay.
And I'm like, they'll edit it. No problem. Whatever you need. America's Got Talent, man. You get 90 seconds. I'm like, cool. Did 4.5 minutes. And they'll edit it.
Which did you do that went 4.5 minutes?
I just did a bunch of stand-up because one of the rounds they didn't air of mine.
Those bastards.
Yeah, just bullshit visa issues and whatnot. So I can only be shown a certain amount of seconds, or else it's not considered. Very complicated. So anyways, but yeah, so I did the first round, and they'd come off a really bad act. So I did like 2 minutes of comedy off the top, just to win them back, and then mess around a little bit. And then I got in the trick, and everything just took a lot longer than it was supposed to. But that doesn't matter, because they'll just edit you. Like, they don't care. They got 9 cameras. They can just make it look like however they want to make it look. So people, I'm like, don't rush, man. Just take your time. They will trim it on their end, and you're fine. So yeah, and even the Straight Jacket Escape, like, yeah, you just go there and don't get in. Don't start right away. Just sit down, and like they'll And at the end, they cut it down to like 60 seconds. That's probably out there for like 8 minutes. Like my buddy Chris did a 20-minute set in America's Got Talent on his third round. Like
Wow,
he was doing
about your straight jacket. That
it wasn't working.
The straight jacket thing. That routine was so direct. You were there for 8 minutes.
Yeah, because like I did the whole putting me in it thing too, right? Like they had Nick Cannon out there putting me in the straight jacket, but then they just cut to me already in it, right?
Wow.
So like it's a longer routine, but they're like, let's just use this part, get to the joke, and move on. You know, so that's another thing too. You can only control what you control. You know, everyone's like, I hope they don't make me look bad, whatever. It's like, be likable and be as good as you can, and it's in their best interest to make you good. If you're a dick to the producers or the directors or anybody working on the show, they're less inclined to make you look good. But if you're really good about it and just try your best, everyone wants to see the greatest thing in the world. And if you're not getting the sort of the results you want out of these things, the trick isn't as good as you think it is. You know what I mean? Like if you're already trying to be nice and work hard for them and it doesn't turn out right, man, like, I don't know, reevaluate your stuff, because they're not out there just to screw over a great thing. They're not. So I always tell people, don't worry about it, man. Just try your best. If you believe in it and be nice to them, it'll be fine. But it's stressful. America's Got Talent's the worst place for magic, for any performance. I mean, you're sitting backstage for like 13 hours, just sitting there in this holding pen, right? Like people are asking you questions. They're setting up some fake interactions so that different acts will talk to each other. And then all of a sudden they're like, you're up. And you're like, I thought I was up in an hour. You're like, you're up now. And you're running down there. And then you get right up to the curtain and they're like, oh, actually, no, go back. You're not. We're going to put someone else in. And then you're like, wow, I'm ready. And then you're like, I just got to set up my trick. Can you hand me? Where's my thing? And they're like, oh, I think it's over there. It'll be there. And you're like, and then they push you. And all of a sudden you're standing on an X, looking at an audience of 3,000 people, staring at these 4 judges. And like, you're like, I guess I'm starting now. Like, it's really weird, man.
Jesus, my heart was already like moving quickly just from hearing that story. I could put myself there, and that was terrifying.
And after they put me in the straitjacket, they called me off to get like remiked and all that stuff, because it had moved when they put it on, and I'm just sweating my balls off because I'm freaked out about what's about to happen. And the more you sweat, the more the straitjacket just sticks to you. I was like, this is not going to go well at all. Like, it was terrifying. Like,
I want to know what would have happened if you hadn't gotten out in time.
I've not gotten out of it twice with that timer going. And I don't cheat the timer, man. I let it, it's for real.
Really? Wow, I totally thought there would have been an out.
No, my buddy Neil took the photo, much to his chagrin. And then, yeah, it just runs out. And like, I got stuck in a huge corporate event, massive corporate event about, I don't know, 6 months ago. 700 people. It's this huge event. Show is going great, just killing it. And this guy gets on stage and he just screws me over, ties the one of the buckles into the other, like, it just makes it impossible to escape. And I don't know, he was drunk-ish, and I guess he just thought, oh, I'll make it hard, it'll be funnier. But I just literally couldn't get out, and the timer just goes down, and it's just naked me, and the place. Because I mean, in the context of my show, that would even seem like how I meant for it to happen too.
Yeah, that's killing it in the context of your show.
Yeah, it's really funny. I thrash around. I can't get out. I freak out. The thing runs out. There I am. And then it goes black. Everyone laughs. Standing ovation at the end of that show.
Wow.
On a miss. And I was like, man, I never get standing ovations. So I'm like, maybe I should just do it that way. But I don't really like having my dick out all the time. So, You know, it's a bit much.
It's your style. Whatever. You know, everyone has their own style.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know if I answered any of those questions, but that's a lot.
You have. No, totally. And the more we go off script, the longer this will be and the less I have to think. So that's good. Yeah. So what are the differences between all the programs you've been on behind the you told us a little bit about AGT.
Yeah, Penn and Teller Fool Us is the best, because the Penn and Teller really do have final say on what happens. They've structured it properly. So they make sure you're taken care of. They make sure you have enough time. You do get like all the time in the world to walk the stage. They will make sure if you want to set your own props, you can do that. Whereas like America's Got Talent, they're like just grabbing PAs and stagehands, being like, oh, put this somewhere near the middle. And you're like, no, but turn it so it's perfect. And they won't let you out there, right? Where Penn and Teller are like, yep, curtain down. They get out there. What do you need? 5 minutes? You need 20 minutes? What do you need? And they'll make it happen. So as like they want the magic to be as good as possible. which is good because of coming off the show with them doing Wizard Wars. That show didn't lend itself to be the best possible magic. Part of that show is here's some random shit, make it happen. And ultimately, I think that was the downfall of that show. Is it doesn't showcase magic as good as it could have. And the Fool Us is the opposite of that, man. They make sure it's good to go. And Johnny Thompson, Michael Close backstage are so great about because you have to explain your stuff to them and how it works, and they're just so great about even like right up to when you like go on like giving you like tips and stuff, and you're like, oh, this is great piece of. Are you supposed to help me? Because it's pretty good. Like it's really neat experience. They make it really chill. America's Got Talent, man. No, there's so many acts. Even in like the judges cut round, you're still 100 acts or 80 acts, and it's like it's so competitive. And a lot of these acts have never been on big stages ever. Most of them. So they're weird, man. They're hyperventilating in the corner, and they're like freaking out, and like it makes you freak out because someone else is freaking out next to you. It's not a good experience. I recommend it to everybody. I mean, you need that in your bag. You need to know, okay, here's the worst possible conditions to perform for the most amount of people you could imagine. It's both extremes. There you go. Now let's see how you do. And I mean, if you can come out of there with a clip that's good, you're doing good. If you can actually appeal to their senses, and that's another thing too. Like you got to say the crap they want you to say for AGT, which I didn't like. Like you do the intro video for Fool Us, and they'll say, "What's your story?" You tell them the story. It's all good. You do the intro video for AGT. They're like, "Stop the cameras. Hey Wes, do you mind saying that like this is your last chance, and if you don't do this, you're gonna be a failure, and like." Maybe like your girlfriend's gonna leave you unless you and then they're just putting words in your mouth, and they're like, "Okay, turn the camera back on." I'm like, "Let's go." And then you're like, and the guy's like, "Okay, stop the camera, Wes. You're not really saying what I need you to say right now." He's like, "I can edit it so you say what I want you to say, or you say what I want, or you could just do it for me." And then the quote of the America's Got Talent experience for me was the producer stopping the camera and coming over and being like, "Listen, or get off the ride." And then he's like rolling, and then I'd like have to be like, "Yeah, I had a real tough time," and I just started spewing this untrue life story, and I'm like, this is all bullshit, but you got to play the game, right?
Wow.
So I still recommend it to anyone who wants to try it. Like I told Steve Brundage when he went on, I'm like, man, think of your sob story and pitch it hard. Murray Sawchuk told it to me. He said the exact same thing, and I didn't do it. I'm like, I'm too cool for that. I don't have a sob story. I like my life, and I ignored it, and I got buried. I didn't get as much play as I could have. I tell Steve Brundage, I'm like, man, pump it up. So he pumps up getting bullied through high school and whatever, and they hit it hard, and then poof, you know what I mean? He gets like crazy play. So I'm gonna reiterate that advice to anyone who asks me from now on. I'm like, yeah, man, they are selling the American dream. That is the product of America's Got Talent. Don't go in there trying to win, whatever. If you want to get showtime, like it's really tricky. It's just a bad time to do magic, but it's the best possible thing you can do. And I think it's anyone who wants to do it, man. Who knows? You'd be Eric Jonesing it up if it goes well, right? Like it's. You
know what? Actually, in regards to Eric Jones, because this is exactly what you were saying. In like the first episode, I remember at least two magicians. One of them was a kid who did an effect where one of the judges picked a card, and then one of the judges thought of something, and then that item appeared inside the card.
Right.
Okay. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. They gave him like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And they gave Eric Jones, I think it was 6 seconds if you don't count his intro.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, what? That's Eric Jones. What are they doing?
Yeah, they don't care, man.
Yeah, and the reason was exactly what you're talking about. The kid had a great story. It's a sob story, but that doesn't mean it's fake or anything. It was him and his dad would watch America's Got Talent together. That's what. And his dad died. He stopped doing magic because the person made his dad. So that's and then eventually he started doing magic again because he realized that that's what was bringing him closer to his dad. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That's why you give the kid 6 minutes and Eric Jones 6 seconds. But it's really crazy because that was Eric Jones.
Yeah, man, I know. And they just did it's exactly that. So, and like people like that kid, even like I've seen it where a really, someone with like a really good story And like I said, it doesn't just because my story was BS, it doesn't mean most of them are probably just true. I probably just have a super privileged experience. But I've seen them like give 2 chances, like to somebody, like they go out, they can't do it, they fumble or whatever, they let them go back out and reshoot. And like they will never let you do that, but every now and then, if it's someone with a good story, they're like, oh, we really want to showcase this guy in the right way, like bring him back out. I saw a comedian go out and forget his lines, like just forget his jokes, just stand there and he's like and just start crying on stage and then run off, and they let him come back out and do it again, and they were really nice to him.
Wow.
And just, I don't know. So yeah, it's a cool thing, man. I'm not even here to like say bad things about America's Got Talent. Like if they ask me to go back out and do it again next year, I'll go do it again. Like you just got to put your expectations aside and just be like, I'm here for this experience, this story, this chapter of my life. And don't be like, this is going to make or break me, and treat it like just a cool thing. And like, yeah, just a story you can tell your friends and, or some promo you can add, whatever. But like, the less weight you can put on it, the better it's going to be as an experience, or else you're going to be stressed. And same with Fool, same with anything, man. Like, don't worry about too much. Don't let it define you in that way, or else it's just really, there's too much there. I don't see how it would, I don't see how you wouldn't get stressed out and go crazy, is what I'm saying. So
That makes perfect sense.
That's the big difference.
Those 2 shows happen differently. So America's Got Talent, you actually audition, which I'm assuming you did, right?
No, I mean they fudge a lot of it, especially for us magicians. We're lucky because we're like, if everyone just straight auditioned, it would be way too many singers and dancers and musicians, right? There's just, they outnumber us crazy. So they look for circus acts, jugglers, any kind of variety of magicians, and they'll find us. So they just found me on YouTube and just called and said, I mean, they only gave me 6 days notice, not even 5 days, I think.
Wow. Huh.
Like, hey, we're shooting in New York in 6 days. Can you get out here and do this? I'm like, yeah, I'll be right there. And then.
Okay. All right. Well, that's really interesting. I didn't know they did that. How about Penn and Teller?
Penn and Teller, yeah, they found me as well on YouTube. But they'd already known about me, I'm sure, from Wizard Wars probably. But my YouTube channel had gotten huge before any of this started. Everyone assumes my YouTube channel got big after people saw me on things. They would go check me out. Other way around for me. My YouTube got big, and then that got me on these shows. And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, man, put your stuff on YouTube. I'm like, why don't you put it up there? And they're like, and people are, I guess they're afraid of it getting stolen or ripped off or whatever. I don't know what people are afraid of. I'm like, man, if it's good, it's going to get views, and people are going to like it. And if it's not good, it won't get views, and who cares? No one will ever see it then. Like, there's no downside. If people don't see it, no one even, say you put up something that was the worst trick in the world, well, no one's going to watch it. So I don't even have to worry about that. I put up the worst trick in the world, no one watches it. That doesn't mean I'm walking around and 10 million people are like, oh, that was the worst trick in the world. No, no one saw it. It's fine. And if it's great, then everyone will see it. There's no downside.
I've never thought of it. That's totally true, but I've never thought of that. That's really interesting.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. It's my opinion, I guess. But I've had people like in the comments be like, this trick's so good, it's going in my act for sure. And I'm like, this is an original. I'm not selling it. Like, you just can't take it. I'm like, yeah, it's in my act. It's so good. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so there is that. But I mean, that's happening at videos that are getting like 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 million views, right? Like,
right.
Looking at it at some point, and who cares? Like,
what I'm also interested in, and this is complicated to talk about this. When you do a magic show, how many people in the audience already know who you are? How many people are there because they've heard of you, or how many people are there just because they've never seen a magic show?
That's a good question. That really depends on what city I'm doing it in. Yeah, man, like, I don't know. I've done shows for 6,000 people in Indonesia, and I'm sure 2 of them knew who I was, you know. But then I've done shows in Vancouver, where I'm from. You know, I'll do a 1,000-seat theater, 1,200 seats, and I would say probably a good quarter of the audience would know who I am, like well enough to have like seen at least one performance of me somewhere on something. right? So you're dealing with like 300 people that like know who you are, and that's a very different thing. And they probably brought their friends, and that's why the theater is full. But I'd say generally when I'm just like somewhere in Canada or the States, just in some city doing a show, I would say that there's probably 1 out of every 20 people would know who I am. Like that's at the show. So yeah, which I think is pretty solid. So if there's 200 people in the audience, for sure 10 to 15 people will come up after and be like, hey man, no, I've seen your stuff I saw you on Netflix or whatever, or I've seen you on YouTube, or I subscribe to you. And I'll have like a lineup of 10 to 15 people after every show telling me just that.
Oh, that's sweet.
So yeah, it's really cool. And it might be more people that they just maybe don't come and say hi.
Right.
But but it really helps, man, when just no one knows who you are. It's so strange.
So when you were saying your advice to a lot of people is just put it up on YouTube. If it's good, it'll be seen. So I assume that means you put, everything up, or does that mean that here's the question. Do you have a process for deciding what gets put up on the internet?
No. Yes, sort of. Okay. This is crazy, man. So like the trick that really got it going for me was Naked Magic. It's just basically a crystal casket. I'm going to vanish this chick. But in the middle of vanishing, her clothes are going to be gone first, and then she's going to vanish. That's the extra step that I decided to add, that'll Wes Barker it up, and it'll be really funny. And for sure, how is that not like clickbaity viral video style stuff, right? And I'm like, this is going to be gold. Well, I built that crystal casket. I didn't know, like I just built it in my dad's shop because I couldn't afford one. I didn't know that a crystal casket is normally used to produce somebody. So although I'd followed the Steinmeier like steps pretty closely, we couldn't get her to vanish very quickly. But it's not meant to do that. So she couldn't get into the fucking compartment because you're meant to come out of the compartment. So it was taking a long time. So we didn't have much time to rehearse. It's just some chick. I can't afford to hire her every day, right? So we only rehearsed a couple times. So during the show, it's like a long time between the two steps because it's so hard to climb into a compartment that you're meant to shoot out of. So it was really bad. So when I watched the edit, I'm like, this is slow, it's long, it's not as good as I wanted. The internet would eat it alive. I'm not going to put it up. And I almost didn't. And then one day I'm like I couldn't possibly, like, what am I worried about? Like, it's like Jabrizi, right? The more times he says outlandish shit, the more people hear about him. It's like Donald Trump getting elected. The more noise you make, good or bad, it's still noise. So I'm like, okay, man, I've been putting up videos for years and nothing's ever happened. I know people will be interested in this video. They might rip it apart. They might not. I don't know. I put it up, and then all of a sudden it's like 100,000 views, which I was like, what is happening? 250, 500,000. How high can it go? 1 million views? I'm like, I've done it. I'm freaking out. And then I think now it's at 25 million views for that video.
Wow.
And the hate isn't nearly as much as you'd think because most people watching it aren't magicians and they're like, whoa, that chick disappeared. Right? What? And because I had that special, because I spent a bunch of money filming that theater special, I just quickly followed it up with 2 other clips that I actually like. And those clips on the tail end of that, people saw this one, they clicked the next one, they got 5 million, 2 million, and now boom, now I literally have a YouTube career now, and now all these places are calling me because they're like, we've seen these videos, but like all of that came out of something that I'm like, this is shit, I'm not gonna post it.
Wow, that's brilliant.
And then you forget, man, we're magicians, we're too into it, we're too critical. We go, you know what, I'm gonna do this one, for the 95% of people that aren't super dissecty when it comes to they're just gonna watch it out of pure interest and like, cool. Fuck, man, like I know we all want to be like the most impossible thing ever. We all want that, but at some point you got to go like, don't be so hard on yourself, man. Who are you, Jay Sankey, man? Who am I to decide if it's good or not? I'll just sell the trick. You tell me. And as much as I think that's crazy, at some point I go, that's not crazy at all. That's exactly what I do with YouTube. Yeah, man, it's weird. I don't know what to say. I'm just like, put it up. Just fucking put it up.
All right. So new avenue. Not really. Um,
Sorry, man. I get so pumped.
no, it's great. I love it. Don't lose that. Definitely, and don't apologize for it. So you put your part of your stage act on YouTube, and it had already been filmed and everything, right?
Yeah.
So that means you already had a high quality produced filmed stage act.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit more about building up to that? Because I know you said YouTube started you to these bigger shows, but even before your YouTube, you had like a produced filmed stage act of your own.
Yeah. So, okay, that's a good thing that you're asking. And I'm sure everyone's in the situation when you first started doing magic, the community, other people you perform for, or your family or your friends, or whatever, like, where can I see you? I want to see your show. I want to see your show. Yeah. So, like, I always tell people, like, man, that is so valuable, and it only happens. Sorry, it's so valuable, and it only happens once in your career, where they haven't seen you yet because you haven't done anything big public yet. Man, harness that. So I rented out a theater. I quit my job, and I knew, oh, I don't have any money coming in now. Uh-oh, life's really bad. I'm like, I need to do a big show. I'll do a big show, and I'll film it. That way I can pitch to like proper corporates and stuff and get bigger gigs. But also I can charge $20 a ticket and sell to all these people that I know want to come see me. Like, there's got to be 100 or 200 people here that want to come see me. And if that's the case, then I can probably make $3 or $4 grand out of this show, and that'll get me through the next few months or whatever, right? So that was my mindset. So I find this theater. It's like costs like $1,000. It seats 400 people. I'm like, great, I'll just do a show. And it gave me a deadline to hustle my ass to actually get my stage act to where I want it to be anyways. Everyone needs deadlines, but I know it's going to be a pretty friendly crowd because they already know who I am. They're all the people that already like me and have just never seen my show. No pressure. So I get this show. Well, everyone, like, people coming out that I've been to high school with, like, oh man, I've always wanted to see this. I see you on Facebook or whatever. I want to check it out. I brought my work. I sold 20 tickets to some people because they brought their whole work with them. And I'm like, okay. So the night of the show, I'm backstage and they're all coming in, whatever. The guy that runs the venue comes back. He's like, yo, do you have any more tickets? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you have all the tickets. If they're gone, then we're sold out. He's like, dude, you should go outside. And I'm like, okay. I look out the back door and the lineup's down the block. I go grab my phone that I've been like put on. I just put it away because I've just been getting ready, right? I grab my phone. I look at there's like 100 or 78 messages from just random people being like, dude, is this your show? Like, am I at the right venue? Like, is there any more tickets? Can you get us in? There's a huge line. Like, people just confused of what's happening. And so was I. They had to turn away over 200 people for the show.
Oh my God, Wes. What?
Yeah, man. It was fucked. So then I was like, this is going to be the great. And it's still to this day my favorite show of all time because it was like, probably I'd say in the 70% of people there knew who I was. It's packed, 440 people jammed at this place, and I'm doing my first big show. So much fun. I mean, I made some weird choices. I think I had a tie on for the first half, and I went backstage and got changed and put on a t-shirt and came back out. And like a lot of me, I figured out during that show. And then, yeah, man, so I made a ton of money that night, right? Way more than I thought I was gonna make. Probably made like $8 grand, paid the guys that filmed it about $1,000. I probably netted like $6 or $7 grand off that show. And then that set me up for a few months. And then I'm like, okay, there's something here. So I waited, I did a couple smaller ones, got my act together. And then there was so much buzz off that one that I'm like, okay, 2 years later, I'm like, I'll do this big one in Vancouver, 1,200 seats, a venue that everyone in this town knows. Like, it's one of the top 3 venues that like around here, like when like big comedians come in, like that's where they would play, right? $6,500 rental fee.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, but it seats 1,200. If I sell it out, that's 24 grand. 6,000. I'm like 18,000. I'm like, okay, I don't think I'll sell it out, but I'm gonna try. But I'm gonna spend real money and get a real camera crew in here to film this because just like the last thing, that footage got me all the next thing. I'm like, I'm gonna spend whatever I estimate my profits will be, whatever I think I might make. I'm just gonna spend it right now on production value and getting this filmed because I'm not doing it for the money this time. I'm doing it for the footage to get the next thing, right? Because I realize how important that is. So before I even walked on stage, I'm like, oh, $12,000 in the hole before I even walked on stage that night. I paid these guys, like, I can't remember how much, but real money to film this Vogue show, all the rental costs. I got these huge letters I spent money on, making it all look huge and crazy. And I feel this theater, and when people watch it now, they assume that's a show I tour and I would do in different places. No, man, it's a one-off in my home city that, like, it makes it look like I'm a big deal. And we did sell that show out, but, like, I mean, I was calling everyone I knew. I was like going through all my Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and just like picking a name and like email that private message, not copy and paste, like, hey man, you got to buy tickets to this, like, come to my show. Everybody just, like, for months, but I sold out. I ended up making a like, still probably the most money I've ever made in a single night performing was that show. But also, man, the footage, like, I don't know, it's a big gamble. To rent out that theater, it took all the money I had and most of my girlfriends. Like, I'm like, I need all of this money to make this happen. It's such a gamble, but, like, without that gamble, none of this happens for me. I swear, without that show, you know, I don't know if I'm still only doing close-up gigs, you know, trying whatever. Like, I'm definitely not going to 20 countries. I'm definitely not doing huge stage shows. I definitely don't have a YouTube channel that's gone in the direction it has. Like, I don't know, but I mean, I'm sure maybe I would have found another angle, but all I'm saying right now is, like, man, put it all on there, and if you think it's good, use that family friends thing that have never seen you, and you can really turn that into something. But film it, man. Don't be greedy. Don't be like, okay, I need that money, because of course you need the money, but you're always gonna need that money. You're always gonna be broke. Like, even I can make twice as much one year as I made the year before, and I'll still spend it. So, like, just be like, whatever. If it costs $5,000 to film this thing, spend it, man. It's gonna bring it back like crazy. I don't know. That's my rant about that. Sorry.
Oh, that was amazing. I've been just here and thought. Wow. Okay. Yeah. This whole thing.
Yeah, man.
The last 5 minutes of conversation have made me decide to really put together a stage show.
Yeah, dude, you should, man. Like, you're never gonna regret it. It's so good.
That was really powerful, Wes. I don't even know if you know how powerful that was. That was really, really cool.
I'm happy to hear that, man. That's good to hear.
Oh, okay,
I've some messages before, and I try and tell that to everybody that asks, because I think it's important to know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think almost everyone I talk to only really does close up. I think it's like the exception to find a stage magician. I don't know what a percentage, but if I throw something out there, I'd say like 9 in 10 do close up.
Yeah.
But to hear about the success you had almost right away with stage is really inspiring. Obviously, do it right, but that's
man. I would. Yeah, and again, I wish I had a better method for people to cross over from close up to stage.
Yeah,
I don't really. For me, it was the comedy clubs, but that's because I'm doing a funny thing anyways, so it's easy. But I'm sure if you wanted to get more stage time, even for a room of like 20 or 30 people, but you're actually up there on a stage instead of doing close up, I really suggest these comedy clubs, man. Even if you go to the guy that runs it and says, hey, like, I'm just a magician. It's like, I don't do comedy. I do like serious magic, but can you give me 7 minutes in the middle of the show anyways? 100 times out of 100, they'll be like, yeah, dude, for sure. And he might even say, like, I mean, be prepared that after you walk off, the next comedian might just make fun of magic, and you go, yeah, that's fine. And they go, okay, cool. And you could be doing at least a stand-up parlor show, 3 times a week if you wanted to.
Okay, I'm going to do that.
It's fun.
A lot of good advice, Wes. Advice that's especially. I mean, a lot of stuff is good for me to know, like, down the road, but like I know I'm not the only one benefiting from this, but this applies to me like right now. This is really, really awesome.
Yeah, you're right in that perfect time right now, man. This is it. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so for me, the person who is they don't have a career in magic yet, but they're just about to start. What is your advice for them? I know I just want like how do I put it?
So the person that doesn't have, they're just about to start magic. Okay, is that what you're saying?
No, no, it's not the person who's just about to start magic. It's the person who's just about to start trying to make a career out of it.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be. you got to be really honest with yourself when it comes to this situation where you got to go. People always like, be yourself. I mean, like, it's so true, but it's a cliche. I guess cliches are cliche for a reason. But you really got to decide, what do I want? Like, do I want to be famous, or do I want to just make a lot of money? Do I want to do something that's I really feel like I'm leaving me behind and leaving a mark that says that I was here, or do I want to just like have a quiet life and just count my paychecks? Because I mean, if you're like, okay, I'm going to do it, I want to make a living. Okay, easy, man. Get yourself a really family-friendly show. Get yourself like a stage show that's family-friendly, and then get yourself that's a really corporate stage show with lots of tech. Wear a nice suit, and get yourself even just those two things is probably all you need. And just hit up fairs and dress accordingly. One day you wear the blue suit, one day you wear the tux or whatever it is, right? And just cater to those crowds and find your cruise ship show that you can do for 75-year-olds in the middle of the ocean. They're gonna like it, and just be like that, and you'll be fine. You're not going to get, but don't do that and expect to have some level of notoriety or fame or whatever you might be after. Don't expect to be on the TV shows or whatever you want. That's not going to come out of that. You will make, I mean, I know guys making $300,000 a year doing that, no problem, easy, right? But like, you're not going to jump out and all of a sudden be like on the face of everything or whatever the hell you want, right? Like, so you really got to decide, because that road means saying, I'm not going to do this store-bought thing. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to wear whatever weird thing I feel like wearing. Something, maybe it's just that. You know how many times I go to a corporate event and they're like, oh, hey, man, do you need somewhere to change? And I'm like, no, this is what I'm wearing. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, you hired me. So you have to be able to deal with that, right? Where they're like, and you're like, no, I'm just being me. And they're like, oh, could I go out tomorrow and do a better magic show than I've ever done? Yeah, I would just go do all the tricks I know how to do that I don't do, right? That I know people love. But I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that, because that leads the place I don't want to go. Like, it just leads me to, sure, it leads me to lots of money and a nice long career. And if that's what you want, do that. Man, do you want to just have like a good career where you make money, or are you trying to like do this thing where you're like actually, I don't know the word for it, because it's not really fame, but it almost is, that it probably is that thing you want to be well known, right? Those are very two different paths. And I mean, there's probably smaller ways we could break it down, but those are the two main ways, and they do not lead to each other very well. There are certain exceptions, but like, I did a cruise ship show last October and 200 people walked out of it.
Wow.
Middle of the show. Because it's not a cruise ship show. They did not enjoy it. They were like, we like our magicians to have doves, and we like them to have glittery shirts. We want assistants. We want people jumping in and out of boxes. That is a cruise ship magic show. And they're like, what are you up here telling jokes for, making me laugh? The comedian was yesterday. A direct quote from the guy in the third row as he walked out. Yeah, wow. Just do the tricks. The comedian was yesterday, and then he walks out.
He said it loudly enough for you to hear it from the third row.
Oh man, he said it to me so I would know it, just like boom, and walked. So like, you got to be ready to deal with that. Like I said, those two paths, man, they don't cross over very well, but I'm very stubborn in what I want to do. I'm like, I like comedy clubs, I like college shows, I like TV, I like YouTube. That's what I'm going for. My show is killer for that, but it doesn't necessarily do well at like a family festival. I mean, I've done them, and I tailor it, and I try and bend my stuff as much as it'll go, and I'll throw in the odd other trick just to make everybody happy. But I'm not going to ground up have a show that's like, oh, I'm going to wear the tie today that I don't believe in. If it suits you, it suits you. Go do it. But I would say anyone who's trying to make a career out of it, decide, man, what do you want? Because there's no wrong way. I got really great friends that live. They drive nice cars and live in sweet houses better than I do. But we're just going for different things. So that's my number one thing I would tell people that are just getting into trying to make a career of it. Because you can have whatever you want, but like, you just can't go here and expect to end up over here. That doesn't happen. So
that makes a lot of sense. What's your favorite trick that you do?
My favorite trick, I like my appearing beer can trick that I ended my special with. Like tricks that are like for me, I really like tricks that are a gag, but also have a little bit of a magic kicker at the end.
Okay.
I like the ones that kind of make fun of themselves. Like, what magician, what respectable magician is going to walk on stage in his underwear saying, "I'm going to make a beer appear"? A, that's just a weird thing to make appear, and B,
Right.
you're in your underwear, dude. Like right now in front of everybody. Like that's how you're gonna go out. That's your big finish, is coming out in these, pink Ellen underwear or whatever. Like for me, that trick is so me. And anyone who knows me is like, this is a hilarious trick for you to do because it's so you. It's not the best magic I do by far. It's not even the funniest joke I have at all. But I like it because if we're talking about like an actual practical standpoint, it packs super small. I just pick up a beer. You know what I mean? Like every time that red handkerchief's always just stolen from the hotel, casino, or whatever. I'm just like, well, I need a napkin. And you know what I mean? Like it's so easy for me to do it, and I like it because it really says the show's over. There's nowhere else to go from here, right? And it's just a really nice thing. So for me, that's my favorite one. I have a new one that's coming. I'll be doing it in my next February. My next thing I'm going to film, and it's probably my new favorite thing. But it's hard to explain. I can't talk about it right now. There's no video to point you to, but it's definitely my new favorite thing.
Okay.
But again, it's not the greatest magic trick in the world, but it's really good. Yeah. Also, when my Build a Lemon, where I use the person's purse.
Yeah.
That is probably my all-time favorite bit now that I'm thinking about it. So one I've done the most. I've been doing it since 2012, and it's my favorite thing of all time. Just because I love sneaking stuff into their purse, and I love just revealing stuff, pulling out a vibrator. I just love the absurdity of it. I love the different reactions I get from the person on stage. I love that a lot of times the audience doesn't realize that that's my stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I remember watching that. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
It was a magic trick until a certain point, and then I was like,
Yeah.
oh, those aren't hers.
Yeah, it's got to be outlandish enough that they're like, okay, this has got to be his stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes people just like roll with it. It's weird. I've had the most crazy interactions on stage with that. Like I've had ones where like there already is a vibrator in the purse.
Oh. Which one did you pull out?
I pulled out mine. They're the same. And the girl thought it was hers. And she's like, can I have that back? And I'm like, yours is still in there. That one's mine. And it was just so funny.
Wow.
And I've had bottles of booze in there, like in a big bag, like a bottle of whiskey. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to pull this out. I'm going to get them in trouble, right? They're drinking in like this college party or the college show we're at. And then I'm like, oh, now they're going to think it's magic. So I just pull it out and everyone thinks that's sleight of hand. It's not. It's just she brought a bottle of whiskey to the show.
Wow.
But
imagine what she's thinking. Imagine what she's thinking
what
right
are you doing? I'm like, yo, it's just a magic trick. And I just put it back in. And she's like, oh, right. It was cool, man.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
So those two are my favorite for me. Those are my two favorites, I think.
And I'm thinking off the cuff, but I think that you probably get to have a lot more of those moments than most people because you're so yourself on stage. Like you're getting a genuine interaction because it's genuinely you up there.
That might be true. I think you might be right. Yeah.
One thing I like to ask everyone who comes on here, and it kind of makes you sound pretentious, so I do it for you. What's something that you think you do better than most magicians? And it doesn't have to be something technical. A lot of people go to, oh, double lift. I do that well. No, I mean, like, try and be, creative. Something that you do better than most magicians.
It depends on what. I think I do a couple things, but it depends on if you want to call them better or not. It depends on what angle you want to be. The one thing, performance-wise, I think I do better is not take myself so seriously. But that's just my style. I think it really relaxes the audience. It disarms them. So I get away with some stuff that's interesting. That magic-wise is actually quite fascinating. But it just disarms them. I think everyone feels very comfortable in my show. And we get some really organic moments to the point where I'm always getting messages about people being like, why do you always use stooges on stage? And they never are. Like, it's so awkward.
Wait, what? When do people think you're using a stooge?
With the purse trick all the time. They just don't see the load, and they just assume that she's in on it. And she reacts so well to me pulling out condom vibrators and making her look in her shirt and stuff that they just assume that she's in on it. And I'm like, well, no, it's just a really good trick. Like, I don't know what to tell you, So that. So I don't know. I think, but but that being better than at that than everybody, it doesn't really help you if your goal is to be a much more serious magician. You wouldn't want to be good at that, really. So yeah, I don't know. For me, that's the thing I think I do the most. I mean, the other thing is I also go because I want to do comedy and magic. I will go to the comedy club and just do stand up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I entered a stand up contest this year, and was in the top 60 in Canada, right? Like, because I'm trying to be funny, you know. And then I went on MTV and I did a whole stand up comedy routine on there with no magic on MTV.
Wow.
You know, and I'm just like pushing it in every direction I can. And a lot of guys won't do that. A lot of guys will practice at home or whatever, trying to get good at their tricks or whatever. I'm like, nope, get me an audience. Every night I'm going to a comedy club doing 5 minutes.
I love that. Yes, I think that's great, because you can practice in front of the mirror all you want, but if you don't know how to talk to someone else, you're not going to do it at any point. You know, it's not going to be seen.
And that's what those comedians are good for too. Like, where they'll push you. They'll be like, so you can do something new this week? Every week they want to see something new. Oh. And you're like, oh man, what? Like, they're like, yeah, come on, give me some new. They go up there and try one new thing today. Whether it's a new line or a new bit, or talk to someone in the audience. And like, when you ask someone a question in the audience, actually ask them, actually like hear what they answer you, and actually try and use that to your benefit. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to the point where sometimes I'll go on stage with like 3 or 4 tricks ready, and I'll ask the person in the first row for something from their bag, just like to kind of do an impromptu magic trick. I don't know if they're going to give me a cell phone, a $10 bill, or, you know, whatever is going to come out of there. But you're in a room with like maybe 30 people on a free show doing 5 minutes. Who cares if you tank and bomb, right? But a lot of magicians are like, that sounds like a horrible idea. Why would you want to do that to yourself? I'm like, no, that's what I think I do better. Business-wise, I would say, because I think there's 2 parts to this, and business is a huge one if you're trying to make it as a career. Business-wise, I cold call the shit out of people. Not so much anymore.
I used up on that. When you were talking about your first couple shows where you sold out the theater and you spent months direct messaging everyone that you knew, I picked up on the fact that you are really good at getting people to come, like cold calling, warm calling.
I can cold call people to like get them to book me for shows. Like, I would just call the company. I'd be like, hey, it's September. I'd pick up some big company I know. Like, I know you're probably planning your Christmas party right around now. Oh, you're not? Well, you should be. You should get an entertainer. I'm the guy. And, you know, I cold called everybody. I cold called, I just went down to Las Vegas for once just for fun. So I just cold called everybody who had a show in Vegas to see if they'd let me open for them.
Huh.
So Louis Anderson.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's really interesting. I've never heard that before. And how often does that work for you?
Every time. Once you call enough people, someone says yes. If you need a gig, you just have to call somebody, and just like, I could get a gig every single day. It just depends on how many phone calls I want to make.
All right, fair enough. What I meant, I should have phrased it better. How often does it work in terms of how often do you get a yes compared to a no? Hit rate. There we go.
Maybe it used to be like 80 no's to a 1 yes. I mean, but now because I just have better aim. Let's say that, yeah, I don't know, like 5 to 1.
Okay, so that's another interesting thing that I didn't think we'd go to, but I'm really happy we're here. How did you get better at that? What changed?
Just time doing it, and starting to learn where my stuff plays, and starting to learn what people are actually looking for, and what their main concerns are. Like I don't know, someone's main concern in a wedding is probably not getting entertainment. You know what I mean? It's like, there's so many things to worry about at a wedding, but we're always like, oh, I'm gonna get work the reception, the cocktail hour, that'll be great. Sure, it is great, but like, the people planning this wedding, you're so low on their list. I'm like, why would I even pitch to them? Like, that's so stressful for everybody. But like, companies, man, like, and re-pitching them ideas like, oh, you're okay, you're already set for your Christmas party, cool. Like, you guys must have some sort of summer picnic thing happening or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah. I mean, don't you have any client meetings, staff meetings? What? And just start. And so I'm just, if they say no to one thing, I just give them a bunch of ideas they didn't even know they had yet, right? So I don't know, you just time in and just not hearing no very well, and just calling people. I don't know, and try, like, it's like an old sales thing, but it's like you're not trying to get money from them. You're trying to help them solve a problem. You know what I mean? You're like, oh yeah, well, I'll come in on your lunch hour and I'll do a quick thing for you guys, and you just check it out, and we'll make it a weekly thing or whatever the hell it is. But yeah, man, it's good. Cold called. It's good. A lot of people.
That's awesome, Wes. Stuff is so practical. I had no idea we'd be going here, because we've talked a lot about the business side of magic, which is so important for people to make a career out of this. We've talked about, how to start, pretty much. If you get good enough and you think you have something good, try to book a real show and get people there and film it. That's gold. That's really, really great. The cold calling, that's awesome. Thank you so much for all this.
Happy to, man. I'm glad to get it out there. I want more people to know about it.
Yeah, me too. I think we're on the same page with that.
For sure.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you had about 4 hours ago. So is there anything that you haven't gotten to say, or anything you want to say again, or anything, that you'd like to say?
It's crazy that even where I'm at right now, I still wake up some days being like, man, Piff's really got something figured out, like even people are like, man, you're so you and whatever. And I go, yeah. Then I look over, I'm like, fucking dragon costume's a good idea. Like, I wonder if they need a magic horse, like literally. Because I tell you right now, you put on that horse costume, right? Or a cow costume, and you walk on stage, how will you not get seen? Of course you're going to get seen. You've got every show tomorrow. So if you want to do it, do it. But I know that thought still goes through my head too. Like, I'm probably too far into what I'm doing to change like that. But know that, like, I always tell this to most lay people. I try to put it in their context. I'm like, this is a crazy career, man. I literally can't tell you right now if I'm at the start of something huge, or maybe I'm at the top of something that was pretty good for a little while. And we just don't know, and you'll never know. And that's what makes this so great. But I would not rather be anywhere else. But know that, like, people might think I got it all set up and I'm figured out and I'm getting booked and I know what's going on. But know that those thoughts are still rattling around my head every single day. They don't go away. But learn to embrace that, and you're gonna have a best time. So this is the greatest gig in the world. So I wouldn't change it. But I just want people to. There's not enough truth out there, so I just don't like people feeling like, oh man, he's got it all figured out. No, it still fucks people up, and I don't know what to do sometimes. But I want to make sure there should be some reassurance in knowing that everyone's still trying to figure it out. So don't stress yourself out too bad if you're lost on something. It's all good.
That's awesome. Briefly, let's talk about what you're doing now and if you have any plans for the near future.
Yeah, man. Right now, college season, just doing shows, touring away, trying to spend more time in LA. Might even move sometime soon. I don't know. And just get into a different scene.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, like, I'm just trying to develop new material. I really want to get a special on Netflix. They will not let a magician do a special on Netflix yet. It will happen. Somebody's got to go first. I'm trying to convince them that it's me. But we'll see who they let happen. Give Justin Willman an actual show, which is going to be great. But they're not letting I'm like, just let a comedy magician in with the stand-ups. Just let it happen. It'll be great. I promise people will watch it. Mm-hmm. So trying to make that happen. Me and a couple other guys out there are trying to make that happen, and I don't care who gets it. I honestly don't. So I'm rooting for everybody. I'm like, let somebody get it, because as soon as one person goes, the floodgate will open and we can all do it. I just hope it's somebody decent, because that's the metric. But for sure, they would make that happen. They have good taste. So that's up there, and then I'm just trying to travel more. I try and travel all the time. So I'm traveling a lot for fun, but I'm also booking random small shows. Like, I'll book like a really tiny show in like London or New Zealand or whatever, just some comedy festival. Their festivals get pretty big, but I'll even take I took a room last year in London, like a 30-seater, and I went over there and did a show. Like, financially doesn't make sense, but I'm traveling anyways. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just do a show, and it just spreads, who knows? It's always good to do stuff in different places, see how it plays. And yeah, man. So that's one thing that I always tell people too. I'm like, don't forget to live your life and travel, because that's the best thing ever. I didn't really travel properly until I was 23. And I would have gone sooner if I thought about it better. So yeah, it is. But I would say, like, if you have a chance to do even do a semester abroad or something through your actual university or whatever, dude, jump on that. jump. You will. It would be the greatest thing. I mean, I would say take a semester off. That's what I did. Went to Australia for 4 months. But like, if you can't do that because you don't want to take time off school, I get it. But do a semester abroad. You for sure in your third year could do that, or whatever. Second or third year, I think you can probably do it best. But yeah, man, why would you not do that? Go live in Sweden for a year or something. It's so good, man. I stress that a lot. But yeah, that's what I'm going on right now. Just traveling, live my life. Just got married, so just been doing that.
Congratulations. I told you that off camera, but it's a big deal.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, so it's exciting, man. I'm just trying to be, just trying to live my best life. So yeah, but magic-wise, yeah, just got a bunch of new material, trying to work out, and trying to get my YouTube channel once a week. I've been putting up videos, and it's hard. It's hard.
I know. I'm trying to make this once a week. It is difficult.
Yeah, it's so hard, man. But ultimately, I think you just got to do it and hope people turn up to watch it. And that's one thing on YouTube still, I haven't quite found my groove where like I still feel most comfortable on stage. I don't mind being in front of a camera, but just that YouTube thing where it's like, I still feel like in YouTube, I'm still echoing other YouTubers I know. And that's how I'm coming across, which is fine. It's enjoyable. It's great. But if I'm really dissecting it, I haven't quite hit my stride where I'm like not afraid to be like, say I'm 85% me, I'm not afraid to be 100% me. And once I hit that on YouTube, it's going to blow.
I'm sure it will. You've got such a unique personal stage character that, you know, getting the same thing for YouTube, I'm sure is what's going to make it for you.
I hope so. So it should be good. But that's it, man. That's everything I'm doing right now. Just YouTube, trying to get Netflix to listen, and just coming up with new stuff, touring. So
that's good. All right. Last thing, I promise.
All right.
I like to pretend that for everything that I put out, every piece of content, there's one person listening who doesn't know any magic and they're just trying to get in.
Nice.
Where should they go? How should they try and learn?
Honestly, now I would say that there's plenty of good tutorials on YouTube if you want to learn something, you know. I learned most of what I learned off Penguin Magic originally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like literally coming from nothing. I would just spend all my spare money buying random crap from Penguin Magic. I think I was probably like 1 out of 3 times happy with the thing I got, you know, whatever it was, right? And 2 out of 3 times kind of pissed off I'd wasted my money again. But I really thought I was going to buy Magic. Like I thought, I'm not joking, man. I'm a 20-year-old man at that time thinking that I could actually learn how to levitate for real. Like I thought that secret was out there. Like you should go through that when you're a kid, but I didn't. I was new to it, right?
Yeah.
So I was like trying to buy the next cool thing. And but yeah, YouTube now I see lots of great tutorials out there right now. So I think anywhere. I think it's probably important to learn from multiple areas. Right? I think it's really important to go to your local magic shop. I think it's really important to go onto Penguin or Illusionist or whatever. And I also think it's important to scour through YouTube. And YouTube will probably be the quickest way to find out the style of stuff you like, because you can just check in quickly on a bunch of stuff, and that might help you hone what your taste is really quickly. So that's what I try and tell people. Just be whatever you're doing in life, music, magic, comedy, whatever, be a fan of that thing first, and never lose that. Some people say, oh, I don't watch other people's stuff. I'm like, well, then you're an idiot. Like you totally have to be a fan, because it'll inspire you, it'll drive you, it'll just a lot of stuff you forget about because you're so into creating and making that you forget what it's like to be on the other side of that. Be a fan, like everything. Don't go there being hating on people with stuff. Oh my God, it's the worst thing you do. Why would you do that? I mean, like people like to shit on Rick Lax or whatever. Fuck that, man. Rick Lax is the fucking boss. Like, are you kidding me? I'm like, Ricky, you do you, man. It doesn't. People like, do you like it? I'm like, I don't care. What do you mean? I like that people like it. That's what I like. Are you kidding me, man? He's blowing it up. Like that's what you got to do. People are like, but yeah, the tricks or whatever. I'm like, I don't even. What are you talking about? Like, yeah, like I don't like I don't know, some Disney princess movie is probably not my favorite movie, right? Like, but I like that it's there. Like, fuck yeah, Frozen, crush it. Like, do you? Like, it's great. Like, I mean, I'm probably gonna go, watch something a little bit more extreme. But like, what? I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, don't just because maybe it's not your taste, that doesn't not mean it's bad. It means that they have a fan base of people that like that, and good for them. Like, I just can't stand when people hate on shit. It drives me crazy.
I hear you.
Especially when people have like actual fans, obviously. And so like, grow up, man. Just because you don't like it. So, anyways, that's what I would tell The new ones, man, just look on YouTube right away so you can find out pretty quickly what you want, but then don't be afraid to go to that magic shop and meet up with your local magicians. I never really did that early enough. I'm doing it now, trying to.
Yeah, me neither.
And talk to other magicians more.
Yeah, look up if there's an IBM ring near you. I didn't do that until about 6 months ago, and it's been good.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, you did good. Yeah, they're everywhere, man. They should be easy enough to find, but you'd be really impressed by the people. There's always a few dillweeds, but that's all right. The rest of them are pretty sweet. So good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, Wes, thank you so much for being on. We got to wrap this up. I don't want to take much of your time. All right. If you're watching this and this has helped you, go ahead and go to our Magic Mind Facebook page or magicmind.blog. We have groups there full of magicians. Some of them have 15 plus years of experience and are willing to answer any questions you have. We love helping out new people. So if you're new or if you're not new or you just want a little community, guys, join us. Wes, where can these people find you?
I would like you to find me on YouTube. So just /Wes Barker, but you can go to wesbarker.ca and find all the links to everything you ever need. I'm also Stunt Magician. So I have everything at Stunt Magician on Instagram, whatever, all the URLs everywhere. It's all me. So Wes Barker or Stunt Magician will get you to wherever you need to go. Yeah, I don't even know why Stunt Magician was a branding mistake early on. Not a mistake. It just, I've strayed so far. I used to love that walking on broken glass, eating light bulbs, that kind of thing. I still do it anymore, but the name's already on everything. So it's badass name. But,
it is.
Yeah, man. Just, yeah, wesbarker.ca. Find me.
All right.
Come to my YouTube channel. Subscribe.
Do it. All right. Thanks, Wes.
Talk to you later.